What's going on, everyone? Thanks for joining in. So today we are doing a review of the TicWatch Pro 3, and we're going to see how this smartwatch compares to, well, pretty much everything else in the market. So yeah, let's do this. So the TicWatch Pro 3, I've been using it for about a week now, and I have to say there's a lot of things I really like about this watch. First of all, again, it's great to be back to Wear OS. It's cool having Google Assistant right on my wrist, being able to, hey Google for anything, cancel, is a great feature. That was one of my main things about looking at this watch, was the fact that it was operated back on Wear OS. And so I had the mental makeup that, well, since I'm with Wear OS and my phone is Google, then everything Google related would just pretty much all work together. And for the most part, it did. Aside from having to install Google Maps on the watch when I first got the watch, which was kind of odd since it's a Wear OS watch, you'd think it would automatically include all the basic Google apps, but it didn't. So anyway, we installed Maps, got it running, got everything synced up, enabled all the permissions, and overall everything worked really well with the watch. The other things I really did like is the look. I love the look of this watch. It's very, very light. A lot of times I don't really even notice it's on my wrist. It is a 45mm watch, so it is kind of big, but it doesn't feel like it's too big. It doesn't feel like this ginormous piece of metal that's just hanging on my wrist. So in the smartwatch world, it provides a lot of competition for a lot of the other brands. Now, it does work with Android as well as iPhone, but typically Apple people, they stick with Apple products. So if you're an Apple person, you're pretty much better off just staying with your iWatch, unless you're really looking for something that's a bit more stylish or a bit more rugged looking, and that opens up the door for other apps such as Google apps. Then the TicWatch Pro 3 is a great option. Now, my main hiccup though was just kind of more software functioning. One of the main things I was really looking forward to was the fact that I could now have Google Maps on my wrist at all times. With my Active 2, I actually had to purchase an app that would kind of tie everything over from Google Maps to my phone over to my Active 2 watch. It's called Navigation Pro, so if you have a Samsung watch, you can actually install that from the Galaxy Store, and it'll basically kind of mimic Google Maps from your phone to your watch, which is great. Because if you're walking around, if you're riding a bike, even if you're driving around, it's nice to get those nice reminders on your wrist that you have a turn coming up or different things like that. But the thing with the TicWatch Pro 3 is that when we had Google Maps open and operating, it would show up on the watch, but if we went to any other screen, the Google Maps would just get hidden among all the other notifications. So I would actually have to go down, swipe up, and then my Google Maps notifications would be listed on there. Then I would have to tap it and then open it in order to basically see the directions that are there. Not a huge issue, but you think that if you're using Google Maps for directions, your phone and your watch would automatically realize that this is kind of a priority. So it would kind of keep that on the forefront of the watch face, but it doesn't. And honestly, that was really my only complaint. Outside of everything else, the battery life was phenomenal. I think I only charged it once, and I used it quite a bit. I used it for voice translation, I used it for sending messages, ask Google Assistant questions, used it to control my music, all these different things, and everything worked pretty well. The one thing I did notice is every once in a while I'd be a little sluggish. Again, that's more of just kind of a software issue because it has enough hardware in it to kind of keep up with everything that it needs to keep up with. It's got a lot of great features with the heart rate sensor and the oxygen monitoring and the IP68 rating, and all these other things that majority of the higher end smartwatches like your iWatch or many of the even Samsung watches already have. It has that all built into it. Another thing that I really liked about it was the 2 display feature. So it's really cool by the fact that it has this kind of always on display, which really doesn't take up any battery life. So it basically turns the watch face into a monochrome watch face, in which it primarily just gives you your time, the date, and your steps. And it's basically on at all times. And so it's nice because you don't actually have to, flip your wrist or turn it on or touch it or anything to get your normal screen on because it's just always there. But it doesn't really use much battery life. So it's nice while you're driving a car or you're just walking around, you're like, oh hey, it's 7:29 or whatever. Everything's just right there without actually having to activate the watch or turn on the primary display. So that's a really cool feature. And in my personal opinion, it also has a nice aesthetic to it. And when I made phone calls or even received phone calls on my watch, everything was nice and crisp and clear. I didn't have any complaints about people having a hard time hearing me. So that's another great thing to know, that the mic works very well. Now, the main reason I bought this watch was, one, I like technology, and I was very excited to jump back to Wear OS. But as I was using it, I just kept thinking, well, do I really need this? Because pretty much my Active 2 already does everything that it can do. And while it's cool to get something new, at the same time, I didn't really need it. Now the question for me is, am I gonna keep it? The answer is probably not. Now if I had an older smartwatch that I was using and I was ready to upgrade, or even no smartwatch at all, or if I was fed up with the brand that I was using, the TicWatch Pro 3 would be a great option there. But I'm really happy with my Active 2, so in all reality, it's not really for me. But again, this watch has a lot of great features. It's got a lot of great things to offer, and if you're a primary Google user, it's great to be back on that Wear OS platform. So if you're in the market for a new smartwatch, or you just want to get something new, I would definitely recommend checking out the TicWatch Pro 3. It definitely provides a great competition compared to all the other watch brands, especially those on the Android platform. And in reality, I can't really think of anything else that can really fully compete with it, unless you already have something like the Active 2 or even the iWatch. So that's my weekend review. I just wanted to put that out there. So if you've used the TicWatch Pro 3 and you have any observations about it, I'd love to hear them in the comments below, as well as if there's any other smartwatches that you've been using that you're just absolutely in love with, please make a comment below as well, because I'd love to check them out. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So until next time, we'll catch you later, and be safe.